riding with two hands, or if they're riding with one, they're riding with a short rein like this. Now you can still half halt with one hand if you know what you're doing. But again, if you let them go, he's not going to stay collected and his stride is going to get strung out. So again, one hand, once you know what you're doing, is fine, but it does have to be shorter. And again, a lot of people, when they get these horses, they don't want to do that. They want to ride them on a loose, floppy rein. But you wouldn't buy a $100,000 dressage horse and then try to make it into a trail horse, okay? Each horse has its purpose, and these horses have a purpose, but you got to ride them correctly in the beginning, learn how to ride them, and try not to make them into what you want. Again, they're gaited, but you have to help them to get that gait. And when they say naturally gaited, sure, they can do it in a field all by themselves, but you won't see them hold that gait for 10 minutes making circles going up and down hills. They'll change. And if they get tired, they'll a lot of times go into a trot or a pace, because that's the lazier gait. And how many of us are lazy? Like, there's a lot of us, right? Why would we want to do the lazy things? Because so does the horse. And he goes, well, I'm lazy, you're lazy, let's just pace down the trail. And you think, well, I guess it's okay. And then you let it go, and the next thing you know, your horse is pacing all the time because it's easy. So we have to teach them how to do this gait and how to use that body. And again, it'll be hard for them in the beginning if they didn't know how to gait when you got them. But after you have them for a while, it'll get easier and easier, and then they will start to gait on the lunge and do all sorts of things you didn't think they could do. Okay. So again, our running walk's just a little bit faster than the flat walk. So let's see if you can see the difference. So this is our trail walk. Here's our flat walk. Here's our running walk. So just a little bit faster. Now I'm going downhill. He's getting just a little pacey, so it's getting a little bumpy, so I'm half halting. Here we go again. Let's do our flat walk. Running walk. So again, the footing can either help you or hurt you. If you got a pacey horse, then deep footing will usually help you. But if you got a trotty horse, they usually get trottier in that footing. And then the hard footing is better for them. So here we go. We're at our running walk, flat walk. He lost it a little bit. And then the trail walk, so really slow. Okay. So let's show you what happens when I drop the reins. Hopefully you won't fall down, because then you're all going to laugh at me. All right. So this is how most people want to ride on the trail. So Sundance is happy and letting go of him. He's getting to stretch out. So this is still the trail walk, but it looks totally different. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. But it looks more like I'm riding a camel because he's moving back and forth like this. And that's what they say with a lot of the big gaited horses is they have this camel walk. And there's ones much worse than him. So also when you try them, you want to see what they feel like in all those different speeds. So we're at our trail walk, and I'm going to speed them up. Here's our flat walk. Now you see I got a lot of motion. I look like I'm having a convulsion up here, and somebody better call 911. And I'm like, yeah, this horse is smooth. This is great. But you see he's got such a big step, and now that I'm not collecting him, I'm kind of moving all over the place. And again, if I'm riding with a bunch of people, he's most likely going to get out of control and get really fast and try to pass the other ones because he's pretty competitive. All right, so this is our flat walk. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm really not like jerking my body. This is just him with the motion going through me. All right, so let's go our running walk. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you'll see I'm kind of bouncing up down a little bit because this horse that's pretty nicely gaited is getting a little bit pacey with me on here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, you might feel like this is a nicer thing to do on the trail, but it's really not. It's uncomfortable for me. It's uncomfortable for him because I'm bouncing all over his back. And he's not going to use himself. And since I want to ride for a long period of time, I want him to be able to save that energy and do the gait correctly. So again, if he's doing the running walk and I just shorten up, frame him up, you can see what a big difference that is, right? So he slows way out. Now again, when you're doing the gaits, you got to start with that flat walk and get it, and get that horse to frame himself up in order to help him to gait. The horses that are too trotty, that's a little bit different. And tomorrow we're going to talk about, the pacey horse, but I'll talk about the trotty horse too. But the pacey horses you want to round out more. If your horse keeps breaking into a trot, again, it's usually going past his gait, and he can't hold it. So one you can go slower. But again, if they're trotty and you bring the horse more towards the pace, sometimes they'll get the gait. So the horses that are trotty, if you ride them and they keep breaking into a hard trot, a lot of times if you get their head up like this, you'll get their gait. Especially with those Rocky Mountains, you see a lot of times they ride them like this, and then you can frame them up in time once they know how to hold that gait. But in the beginning, to help them, you might put that head up. Again, the ones that are pacey, you're going to bring their head down because that's going to help round that body and take them further away from the gait. And again, as we do the gait, when you're going in those different gaits, the ones that overreach and really step up over that front hoof print, those are the ones that are going to shake their heads. The ones that step in that front hoof print, like the pocket of it, will still shake their heads, but it won't be as deep and you won't get as much motion, and that's what most people want. Those Rocky Mountains, when they're slower, they'll step up, but as they go faster, they do what's called a step pace or a rack, or some people call it an amble. But it's a shorter gait, and it's more like his rack, which I'll show you again in a minute. So it's smoother, and it feels like this. But again, there's no head shake to it. That's how you know it's a rack. So if you go super smooth, and I'm out with my friends, and we're having a blast, and we're just laughing, and they're super smooth, there's no bounce and there's no back and forth, you're racking, and it is fun. But again, you can't do that all day long, you're going to wear your horse out. So let's show you his rack again. So again, when you're teaching them this, you don't want to try the rack until they have those lower gaits pretty good. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take them through his gaits to make sure you have that 1, 2, 3, 4 rhythm. And then you're going to pick his head up. And as you pick his head up, you're going to squeeze with those legs. All right? So it's very smooth, it's very fun, but this is not his running walk. So again, that's the rack. And then again, if we slow it down, there's our running walk. So as soon as he starts shaking his head, that's his running walk. And they have many different speeds, so what the speed I do in here, I might do it faster on the trail. So running walk, right. And we'll do it again over here so everybody can see. Easy. Running walk, right. So I'm just picking his head up, I'm sitting back a little bit, and then as he goes faster, if I feel like it's bouncing or it's easy, I'm going to half home, just squeeze, relax. Squeeze, relax, as I drive with my legs. Squeeze, relax. So back to our running walk. So again, that way your horse knows the difference too. If you round him out when he does his lower gaits, he'll know when you put that pressure on the bit and he starts to drop his head, that he's supposed to come down in his running walk or his flat walk. But when you lift him up, or you can give a code, you can pluck twice, or however you want to do a kiss, then you're going to get that other gait, his rack. But again, that's what the Rockies do, is more that step pace. And people get confused because all these horses are built different. So you got the ones with the big stride, and you got ones with short stride. Then you got the trotty ones, then you got the pacey ones, then you got the ones that pace and trot. So it's really hard to figure out sometimes what they're doing, but that's the best reason to either take a lesson, have somebody help you, or videotape it and then slow it down. Because if you can see what the horse is doing, and you can talk to the videotape, people may think you're crazy, but you go, I think this is it, I'm flat walking. So then when you look at it, it'll talk back to you. Or you say, this is super bouncy, I think it's a pace, and you're like, oh my God, it was a foxtrot. So you want to say what you're feeling, because then you'll be able to analyze it better and move forward from there. If you think the horse is pacing and it's really trotting, and again you're trying to fix the pace, you're going to just make that horse trottier. So that's why you really want to know if it's pacing or it's trotting. Does all that make sense? You got all that? Does anybody have questions, or do you want to see any of it again?
You were talking about the running walk. Are you saying the same? Because I have a lanky, beautiful Tennessee walker. I rip the trails. I've got 2 of them.
Yeah.
So are you using running walk as what I would also consider flat walk? And then second part, we know we can go in first gear, second gear, third gear. I think we have a fourth gear. And then if he wants to do an all-out run, I let him. Is that right?
Well,
That's 2 questions.
So each horse has a different speed.
Right.
So it's different in here. His gaits are going to be different in here than he is out on the trail. They're mostly faster on the trail because they have somewhere to go. So in here they get bored, but you got to practice those slower gaits. So yes, and they have different speeds in their gaits. So yeah, he might be doing a running walk, and when your horse does it, if he has more gears, that could be a flat walk. There's a flat, so these are the gaits of the Tennessee Walker, and then we'll talk about the other one. So you got your trail walk, which is the slowest walk. Then you got your flat walk, which is your next speed. Then you have a running walk. Yes, and then you have a rack. You don't have anything called a fast walk.
Okay.
So,
I got it.
yeah, but again, it depends if it's trotty or a different kind of horse. You might be doing something
A rack
different.
is also like a pace, depending on your walk, your horse, right?
It's 4 beats. To your bare eye, it might look like a pace. That's why you watch the rider. Yes, because a lot of the Rockies people go with pace, and I go, no, it's not. It's totally smooth.
Right on.
Yeah, so that's it. Go ahead, sorry.
Well, we're here together from Napa, and
Nice.
I have a Tennessee Walker, a little Palomino, and he's only 14 degrees, he's got a short back, and he's got a short leg. So, and he could also be cross-registered for this Rocky Mountain. So when he goes, I've had people tell me that he's got the foxtrot. He doesn't reach up, he's got his little, and it's smooth. I mean, I'm sitting there, I'm not moving.
Right.
Is it a rack or is it a foxtrot?
It's hard to tell from you just telling me. If I saw a video, I could tell you.
And why is that worse for him that he doesn't really do a running walk?
Yes. Now, if it's a slower horse like the Rocky Mountain, when you're riding with him, when you hear about people racking, again, a lot of times they'll have their heads way up in the air and the horse's back is inverted. So that's where they talk about it being bad. If the horse is rounded out or his head's up, you won't go down, but it's not like way up, that's okay. You're just trying not to hurt their back. Again, with him, for different speeds, that's his last speed. So that's going to be his highest speed. So again, it's like me, if I'm going on a hike, I don't want to run really fast the whole thing because I'll probably drop dead because I'm old. But again, I could go slower and then hit a little faster and then come back down. So that would be okay.
That's a foxtrot.
It might be a foxtrot. If you're going up and down, but it's a soft, yes, then it's most likely a foxtrot. Because the pace isn't comfortable, but if it was step pacing, it actually might be a little up and down too. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, like, are you have recommendations for specific saddles that are good for dating?
It doesn't so much matter the brand. I have a Crest Ridge. I like it because it sits the rider in the proper position. But you just need a saddle. Most of these horses have a shorter back, so the longer Western saddles usually rub them back here. It's mostly that you have to have a tree that fits the horse. The part that people don't understand about saddles, they'll pay a lot for the horse, and then they buy one of those like Wintech saddles, which is not so good. They're good to start out with if that's all you have the money for. But in the end, you want a good fitting saddle because it's like a shoe. If we have a good shoe, we can walk for miles. If that shoe is rubbing us, we get blisters, then we don't want to go anymore. And if they make me put that shoe back on the next day and the next day, I'm not going to do it, and then you want to throw the shoe. So the horses start acting up because they start getting sore. So it is best to get, saddle fitting if you can do it. You don't have to buy a specific saddle. A lot of times you'll have a saddle and the saddle fitter can shim it for you and at least get you in a comfortable position until you save money for another saddle if it really doesn't fit him well.
He's just finished 4 and his butt's high.
Yeah, so he's gonna keep growing. Right, and there's certain saddles they can shim and take stuff out and put them in as well. Because a lot of times people, when they're that young, they don't want to buy a specific, saddle. But if you get a good saddle fitter and they know the horse is for, they'll tell you, like, it looks like he's going to grow this way. I think we should have it a little bit wider, but we'll shim it so it's more narrow now, and then we can take those shims out as he gets bigger. That makes sense. Right. Anybody else have questions? Let me come down here. The Kentucky Mountain, it depends on their conformation, but they usually have a flat walk, and then some of them foxtrot, some of them will do a running walk, and other ones, if you have do, will do a step pace. So it sounds confusing, But even when they're in the show ring, a lot of times, if you're watching them in the show ring, you'll see the horses do different things. You'll see them break into different gaits, and if you can't recognize the gaits in the beginning, you won't catch it, but you will as it goes on. So the main thing I try to tell people is, since we're not showing, I don't think it's a big deal if you have a running walk or a foxtrot or a step pace. If you're showing, that's different. But I think if you're not showing, you just want a comfortable gait, what's natural for your horse. I've had a lot of people come in, the horse is a little trotty and it's a Tennessee Walker, and it naturally foxtrots. So to me, I would just take the horse towards the foxtrot because that's what he's naturally going for. But they don't want it, they want a running walk, and I can get the horse into it. It just takes longer to get there. And then, again, if they're tired or not on the trail, sometimes they'll still flip over to that foxtrot. Does that make sense? Yeah? Gotcha. Yeah. I always start, even though I'm riding him in a shank, I always start them all in the arena. Again, if it's a real forward horse, I'll start in the round pen. And I start them all with a snaffle. And then as they get better, and I've taught them all this stuff first, the circles and the leg yielding and all those things, then I'll switch to a shank. The bit that's in his mouth is, it's a mylar bit. It's a level 1 mouthpiece, but the shank is 7 inches. And people hear shanks and they get afraid, but again, these horses have a lot of power, so you want to have good brakes. A lot of times the horses from the racetrack, the thoroughbreds and stuff, they don't always understand the bit because they've been pushing against it the whole time. So a lot of times in the beginning, the people will ride them in like a gag bit. And the gag bits come in snaffles, but they also come in shanks. And what happens is when you pull on it, it raises up in their mouth to stop them. And we've had horses that, people had them with bolters and put that in the mouth and it solved the problem, and we worked on them. So I don't know, I would see if you could find out what they rode them in before so you have some idea. Yeah. But again, they have so much power, like when you're going out on the trail, and some people don't get that. So, usually, unless the horse is dead quiet and they can't get it to go, like with my clients, I make them ride in the shank because it's easier for them to get the head down. They don't have to put as much pressure on it, and they can let go. And then if the horse ever does go too fast, they're going to be able to stop the horse. With the snaffling, it's going to be much harder. And the one rein stop will work for people, but only within, the first 3 seconds. People don't get that. And if those seconds go by and you didn't do anything, that horse is just going to run until he's away from whatever he was scared of. Yeah, but I'd still start him in the snaffle in the arena, teach him all the foundation work. And then once he's, better, then you could try. Most of the horses like this bit. It has a copper roller in it so they can play with it. And it gives them relief of their tongue, too. And we haven't had one so far that didn't go pretty well on it. Yeah. So again, this is going to be your flat walk. I'm going back and forth in the saddle, just like you said. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, if they got that reach, you're going to get that head shake. Now, I had a couple Rocky Mountain horses come in recently, and I always look to see what the horse does when it's loose in the round pen so I can know what they can do. And both of them trotted when they're loose. And both of them could foxtrot when I rode them. But again, if people wanted them to do the Rocky Mountain gait and not so much a foxtrot. So again, as you push that horse forward, if we're rounding them out and they go more towards that trot, you can bring their head up a little bit. You'll see when they're in that show ring and they're gaiting, you're going to see some horses that got their heads up like this with their noses poking out a little bit. That's okay. And you're going to see some people that have their horses rounded way in. Some of that's to help that horse stay in the gait. And you're wondering why that one horse has his head up and the other one's lower. But again, depending if they're trotty or pacey, can depend on how that person is riding that horse. So again, the more pacey they are, the rounder we want them, and the more we want to stretch down into their gait and keep that head kind of level with my horn and not way up above it. Again, if they're on the trotty side, I can bring that head up and he can still do his flat walk, but I might have his head a little bit higher. The same thing as you speed them up into that running walk and you push that horse more forward. If my horse tends to go more towards the pace, which he does, I'm going to bring his head down a little bit more. And if you keep watching me, you'll see me doing things with my fingers, and I'm just half halting on that rein, getting him to slow down, especially when I make that turn back there, it kind of goes downhill. Woo! All right. So again, if as I pushed him faster, he was getting more on the trotty side, I might bring his head up here. Now he's doing the same gait, but again, it's going to look different to most people because that nose is poked out and his head's up a little bit. Again, it doesn't matter which one, you're just trying to help that horse gait. So you might have to pick his head up or bring his head down to help him. So I'm going to round him out a little bit more and go a little bit faster. So again, when you're asking them to go forward and you're asking for the gait, it's not like you're doing anything special with that leg, you're just driving them a little bit more forward. So if he was flat walking and you're pressing lightly on his side to keep him at that speed, to get him to the running walk, I'm going to increase my leg pressure, but then once you get there, I'm just going to keep a light pressure on his side so he knows to keep going. This horse is trained so if I take all my leg pressure off, he's just going to stop because I use him in lessons. So I got to teach him that he needs to keep going with the leg pressure. If you want your horse more sensitive, you can make it, but then if your friends get on him and kick him, a lot of times they're going to take off on him. So again, this is his running walk. And then we're going to bring him back to his flat walk.
Can't be here Sunday. Can you just canter him a bit?
Oh yeah, he can. And here's kind of, again, it's up and down, so it won't be the best, but I sure will. You want to try and get the canter from the walk. Because with the canter's 3 beats. And when he's doing his gait, it's 4 beats, but again, he's more lateral, and the canter's more diagonal. So a horse that trots when it's loose, like if you take him the round pen and you see it trot, that's a horse that's much easier to teach how to canter than one that's pacey. It doesn't mean a pacey horse can't do it, it's just much harder to do. When you ask him to canter, you want to ask with one leg, because you want that horse to know a difference between the gait that he's supposed to do, so I asked him that with both legs, and then one leg to ask him to canter. And you don't want to jump them into it, you want to prepare him and get his attention back. So I give a little half halt on both reins, I shift my weight a little to the right, and he started gaiting, and then I'm going to ask to canter. So this is his worst lead, this is his left lead. Now again, this arena's up and down. So it'll be harder for him to canter in here because it's going up and then it's going down right there. And then it's going down. When you canter them, you have to kind of help hold these horses together because a lot of times they'll try to kind of gait and canter at the same time. If you're trying to get that dropping horse canter, again, they have to have the talent to do it. They have to have that big stride to kind of get underneath themselves. And if you're trying to get that canter and you say, well, I keep cantering around the arena, it's not getting any slower, and I'm not getting them up in the air, you can do canter walk transition. So you ask them to canter. Just canter a couple steps and then walk. Because again, these horses can do some crazy stuff with their legs when they're learning to canter. And you'll see that with Wyatt when we do it on Sunday. But canter and walk is a really good exercise to do. And with these horses, when you canter them, you don't want to go till they're exhausted because they do get tricky when they're learning to do this. You want to go a couple of circles around and then maybe go the other way. Once you get to the point that the horse actually can canter, and again, if it was a little bit deeper and flatter in here, you want to get so you can let go of them. Because the more you stay out of their mouth when they're learning, the more they'll stay on that correct lead. Because if you canter and you immediately try to hold them or you're trying to get that head way down, a lot of times they'll swap the lead in the back and they'll start cross cantering. So you just want to get that canter step, 1 or 2 steps, and then again, bring them back to the walk, and you do it over and over again. If you have somebody who's trying to teach it to them, and they say, well, if you just keep cantering, you canter for 45 minutes, he'll slow down. That works in trotting horses, but in gaited horses, they just start tripping and falling. They get tired and they start going towards, a pace or a trot, or they'll try to go into their gait. But then their canter just turns horrible. So it's better to get a couple good steps here and there, and every day add a little bit more. And I'm driving with my leg, I'm picking up a little bit with my hands because he's kind of getting a little bit flat. And when you canter them, you don't want their head way down like this. That'll actually get these horses to be a little bit flatter. You want their head up a little bit if you want that rocking horse canter for them to come up. Does that make sense? Hopefully it's helpful. But I teach them in the round pen first because there's a lot of them are so spastic in the beginning when they're cantering, and if you're on their back, it makes you want to throw up. Because they're gaiting and then they're cantering and doing all these weird things, and then they can't even balance themselves, and then they trip. So if you teach them to canter like in the round pen, and hopefully get their lead, and then when they can canter the round pen both directions, which might take months, then I put them on a lunge line, I pull them off the wall, and then I have them canter off the wall because they have to balance themselves. Once they can do that, I put them in like a little stir single with some side reins, but the reins are loose, just so they get used to some tension on them. Because that you're kind of imitating what's going to happen when you get up there. And then once they can hold the lead in the front and back with that little bit of pressure, usually then when you get on it won't be so bad. But sometimes it does go back a couple of steps before it gets better. Somebody was asking a question.
Oh, I but actually kind of answered my question.
Oh.
Wasn't that last bit? I'm trying to see, like, if I can describe straight day,
Yeah.
But I can't get it to walk at all. I don't know what he's doing. Something faster, faster, and then we canter, and I say, good boy, and then we stop.
Yeah.
Try again.
Yeah. You try it over and over again. When I'm in the round pen, I teach them the word. And then when I'm on them, I say the word. And in the beginning, again, you might have to kind of run them or gate them into the canter if you can't get it from the walk. Once they get it and they're getting it consistently, even though you're gating in it, then I carry stickers first. And then when I say the word canter, if they don't canter off from that leg pressure, I immediately smack them with a stick, and then they jump up and get it. Now they might shoot forward, so you got to feel comfortable doing it, but that's how you'll get them to kind of jump up into that canter. Other questions? Oh, great.
What you're demonstrating and explaining applies to that.
Yes. So the speeds are going to be around the same, okay? But again, when he's, most of the foxtrotters will flat walk, or they'll do what's called a fox walk, which just means they're a little bit more trotty in the back. So if you slower gait, when you're doing that slower gait, faster than his trail walk, if you're going back and forth in the saddle, that's a flat walk. And again, many foxtrotters do that. If you're going up and down just a little bit as he's going slow, again, they call it a fox walk because it's just more towards the trot. When he does his next speed, his running walk, again, I move back and forth, but his head is down, his head is shaking. People get confused with the foxtrotters because they're always talking about it trotting and walking in different places of its body. I try to make it simple for people. When they go faster, if your horse is doing the foxtrot, his head's still going to go up and down, but instead of going back and forth in the saddle, you're going to have this kind of motion. And so you're doing this, and you're like, this is comfortable, this is fun, his head's going up and down. Again, you're doing the foxtrot. So it's that same kind of speed. You still are going to frame the horse up, but again, if he's a real, well-bred foxtrotter, then he's going to usually go more towards the trot than the pace. So again, if he's going out of his gait, and you're like, I don't know when he's out of it or in it, again, when he's foxtrotting, it should be up and down, but it should be smooth. As you get faster, because some people ride the foxtrotters out of their gait and they go really fast, you're going to start going like this. If there's some air, or you can go, oh, wow, look, I can pose, then he's actually trotting. So if you're never sure and you know how to post, you can always try to, post to it. If they're foxtrotting, it's really hard to post to it. Yeah.